And that's just the biggest mistake I see made time and time again from restorers. I was guilty of this too. I would go to the insurance company. I'd say, I did all of this. Please, can I have my money? And they would say, no. You're trying to negotiate with people who have no clue about water damage or construction. Their opinion is just an opinion. Like, they can speak on policy. That's what their expertise is. Let them be that expert in policy. Be the expert in water damage and watch how those objections that they once had directly to you vanish.
If there is one thing that, let's just say your average restoration company out in the US, there's one change in their process that would have the largest impact for growth, what do you think that would be?
So, I mean, it is a little bit off topic or a different topic, but the biggest mistake that I see, and I talk to restoration company owners like every day, multiple restoration company owners every day, the biggest issue I see is the way that they are invoicing their jobs to the carrier. Like, that is just like by far, they act as public. They're negotiating their dollar amounts as experts with non-experts in the insurance carriers, and they are expecting to be paid based off of those negotiations. It's like, well, that's not a contractual position. And I've found that when we coach our homeowners to ask the right questions to their carrier and we bill them directly and say, it is your role, it is your responsibility to then incur this cost from your carrier for them to indemnify you, that all of a sudden these things, these guidelines that they had that they would like negotiate us on and take money away from us on their invoices and estimates, all of a sudden that money gets found. And so, like, what I mean by that is, I would go for, and I was guilty of this too. I would go to the insurance company. I'd say, I did all of this. Please, can I have my money? And they would say, no, that goes against our guidelines. We're not paying you for 4 days of drying. We're not paying you for, all of these things that, like, as an expert, I knew were necessary. And as non-experts, they were coming in to say, no, that's not. And like, that is a disservice to a client. But instead, when I went to the client, I said, this is my invoice, or this is my estimate for a job that I've done for you. And I lived up to the industry standard. Like, I've lived up to the highest level of service and standard that this industry dictates. It is your job to now go back to your carrier to get that money and incur those costs to be fully indemnified. And now they have to talk about they have to talk on policy instead of being experts in water damage or construction, which they're not. Now they have to point to that homeowner where in this policy these exclusions exist that they're trying to like cut your invoice on. And they don't, right? 4 days of drying doesn't exist in anybody's policy. It's not excluded in anybody's policy ever. So they have to then pay that homeowner. But like, we can't have that conversation. That's against the public adjusting laws. But your homeowner can. And when they're prompted and coached to ask the right questions, you will be paid more fairly. You will be paid more on time, and you will just be paid ultimately more than if you go to bat and negotiate with an insurance company to which has no contractual obligation to pay you. And that's just the biggest mistake I see made time and time again from restorers trying to get paid from someone who does not owe them money.
Right. So you're already taking a very difficult job in terms of restoration. And now you're adding in the added variable of how do you actually get paid for that hard work, right? And so working with homeowners, coaching them on the best practices here and helping guide your customers that you're doing this work for on the best way to navigate that rather nebulous topic for a lot of folks, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to negotiate with people who have no clue about water damage or construction, the cost of your services. They're dictating to you what you should do as an expert in this field. It's like their opinion is just an opinion. Like, they can speak on policy. That's what their expertise is. Let them be that expert in policy. Be the expert in water damage, and watch how those objections that they once had directly to you vanish.
Okay, cool. Well, so I'm curious to learn a little bit more about Resolve, right? So, when looking into what Apex Era does, it sounds like you've been very successful with Apex Era. So tell me more about Resolve. Why Resolve? What brought you down this other business venture path?
I debated bringing this up onto the podcast. As we're probably just about to launch, but I figured it was now or never. There is, so we talked just now about that need of like, or that the problem that exists where restorers are negotiating with the carrier in a place that they don't necessarily need to be. And another problem that exists along that same front is that we have relied on legacy type of estimating platforms to provide us with, to dictate to us our value, our prices. And as the only industry that has its prices dictated onto them, we are then in a position where we're negotiating these dictated numbers to somebody who has a financial interest in the claim. And that doesn't make sense to me, right? Like a cost of a gallon of paint could be $40 and it could be $80, but the cost to paint a room, the price to paint a room doesn't reflect that fact. So with Resolve, we are pulling real-time pricing information from local suppliers with product numbers directly into an estimating platform that is going to provide restorers a way to take control of their labor rates, take control of their pricing, and ultimately provide their clients with the best service possible simply by providing them with the accurate dollar amount it's going to cost to repair their home, not the dollar amount an insurance company feels it is going to take to repair their home, and allowing us to become experts in this field again and not have these numbers dictated to us by outside third parties.
Well, it seems to be going back to the same train of thought you said earlier, right? You guys are the experts in restoring, right? You understand what are the materials that are going to actually go into this project. So having a little bit more say in what this value of this project is actually going to be.
Yeah. So we're leveraging proprietary AI tools that I built. When I started Restoration X, what I really started was a way to automate the estimate writing platform. And so I had learned a lot about technology and software. I had built a few computer vision models. I built a few large language models, and this was pre GPT. So when we went live with it, people were really a little confused, but now it's a little bit more of a household name. These are proprietary AI models that we're using to analyze the images of homes to output the expected estimate with real-time pricing, with tied directly to the product number, which leaves very little doubt in terms of what is at this job, what is needed, and it does it in a very streamlined way. So we are leveraging these emerging AI tools in a simple to use platform that is going to streamline the way that restorers are able to write estimates, but also in a way that is going to make sure that they get paid fairly for the work that they do.
Interesting, interesting. So, I mean, we talked about adoption, right? Tools, restores disposal. What would be your advice to a restorer that's looking to take a little bit more of the power back into their own hands, right? Maybe interested in a tool like Resolve, right? What would be your messaging to those folks?
So there's this idea of like most advanced yet still acceptable, right? Like so like people don't like novel, and like rightfully so. They don't like something that's like totally new and out there. But like there's this point in which something has these emerging technologies, which, and like I hate to break it to us, if we are not leveraging these emerging AI tools, like the carrier very much is, and like we need to learn to adopt them ASAP, because we are going to fall victim to the same trap that we have for in so many times in the past, which is the failure to adopt technology. But you have this advanced tools, but we have built them into a very familiar, very a tool that you will feel very familiar in using. And so when you can utilize these powerful emerging tools in a simple to use, completely customizable to your needs software solution that is not only going to easily help you streamline your processes, easily able to help you take back control of the software in the way that you want it in your workflow, but also ensure that you are paid fairly for the work that you do. We want to make something so good that if you'd feel stupid for not using it. And that all-in-one solution that restoration is needed, something that can manage your jobs from start to finish, is exactly what we have built, and we intend to, go to market with in a month to capture not just the CRM, not just the project management, but also the estimating platforms to provide to restorers in a way that makes sense and in a way that is going to make them a lot more profitable.
No, I mean it sounds good. I guess my question is, what type of roadblocks do you expect these early adopters to encounter when they want to introduce tools like this? Right, we talk about an industry that does have some very big names in it. Right? What do you expect the pushback is going to be for restorers that are wanting to adopt emerging technologies that maybe aren't the status quo today?
So I think as far as like all roadblocks is industry adoption, and where it comes to how do we, because restoration has been doing this for so long in this way, while most of us are well aware that it does not work for us, while most of us are well aware that it takes money out of our pockets, the fear of doing it another way is scary. Like I get that. So like adopting such a new system that would fundamentally change the way that we invoice and get paid is something that is going to be challenging for us to do. But the evidence is there. The evidence is present of guys that are not billing the carrier directly. The evidence is there for guys that are not using these legacy platforms, and they are doing so in a profitable way. And like you talk like Ed Cross or Clark Brown, like some of the more like bigger industry names. And when we look at the fact that it's already working for so many, all we're saying is, hey, give it 6 months. If you're not more profitable, if you're not doing better in 6 months, staying away from these legacy, you can go back to them. Yeah, absolutely. But they're not working. And it doesn't make sense to hand your client an estimate, or I'm sorry, a contract based off of these dollar amounts, because oftentimes when we are handing over estimates, we are doing so based off of a dollar amount that's not necessarily tied, or line items that are not necessarily tied to the actual work that's needed. When I was writing estimates, I always would write to hit the dollar amount I needed. The line items didn't matter. So I'm signing these contracts based off of a lot of times items that aren't going to be purchased or leveraged or used at the job site. And like we know that these aggregated dollar amounts and these inaccurate estimates and ultimately inaccurate contracts that we're having our clients sign, it doesn't make sense. But we've been doing it for so long, we can't fathom another way. Yet, look, when I've talked to plenty of industry leaders about this, going to market with this, and every single one has said the same thing. That's exactly what's needed. But we need to, as an industry, say that, we need to, as an industry, reject the way that it's been done out of comfort and understand that, like, the amount that's been taken from us at this point has become too much. It's become past the point of acceptable, and we need to try something different. We need to do something different.
Absolutely. Now, what type of suggestions would you have for folks? Let's say, we have restorers using MagicPlan watching this podcast down the road. For somebody that wants to educate themselves on these topics and what the possibilities are in terms of how they can improve their business and leverage emerging technologies like this, do you have any specific resources or advice for somebody that's wanting to break out of this cycle that, we've said is, not good for business? What would be your suggestion for folks that are looking to explore other possibilities?
So I'm a big proponent. I know a lot in this industry. We kind of congregate in these Facebook groups a lot. The Restoration Rebels Facebook page has always been a great source of a lot of really good industry knowledge and industry expertise from. You'll see the names that kind of are very familiar that pop up a lot. If you ever see guys like Bebo Crane or like Andy McCabe, or even like software guys like Kevin Dooley over at Kahi, who are just like very active in those groups, that there has been, and it's a great discourse too that exists, right? There's great conversation that kind of exists at a comment level in those groups, and a place where somebody can really, really start to understand that there's a lot of different ways that this industry is done. And there's a lot of different nuances that people kind of implement. So like the number one place I would probably look is within that Facebook group at Restoration Rebels. I think there's some good YouTube channels out there. I mean, I know we put out a YouTube channel that tries to answer a lot of these questions. I know that there's a few in that sense. But honestly, we congregate a lot on Facebook. I would say those Facebook groups where that discourse exists is the place to be.
Cool. No, awesome. Well, I want to give you an opportunity if there's anything that you wanted to shout out from your end, anything exciting you want to share with the folks that might be watching this. Just give you the stage here for a moment for any updates like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've given my my 2 cents a lot on this one. I think that if I were to say anything, man, to restorers, it's that we no longer have to be subject. We no longer have to subject our clients, our customers to the will of an insurance company in terms of repairing their home to what degree they think should be repaired. That we need to provide our customers with the highest level of service and care. And if somebody else has a home, it's probably their biggest asset they ever, biggest investment they'll ever make in their life. They deserve to know what it's actually going to take to repair it. And whether you're using Xactimate or Symbility or Resolve, it doesn't really matter, because you need to be providing them the most accurate figure, not the most accurate figure you think insurance will pay for. And that we just need to maintain this level of industry standard that is above reproach when it comes to how we do this work for our clients, because it matters. It matters a lot that we provide them the top level of industry standard, not the standards dictated upon to us that the non-experts feel that we should have. So that's probably the one thing I would say, if anything.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I appreciate you joining us here today. For everybody that's listening, if you like this video, drop it a like, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more content in the future. Until then, have a great day.